So another theme that I find runs through my career, my life, were how small conversations can sometimes change the whole course, whole direction of what you do. You know, during my Foreign Service oral interview, I'd been signed up to be a USIA Information Service officer. And at the end of my interview, one of the panel, this is in 1966, said to me, you know, listening to you, you should be a State Department officer, not a USIA officer. I didn't really know the difference. And he explained it to me, just privately, small conversation. And he said, I encourage you to change your designation. And I did it. I never would have become an ambassador. I never would have had so many interesting assignments as a State Department diplomat if I hadn't been guided by that one small conversation. Similarly, that small conversation with Dick Swanson changed the course of my life. Another conversation like that was with a man named John Vann. So it's early 1970. I'm in the last couple of months of my first 18-month assignment. Don't know, probably going to leave Vietnam and go someplace else. And you have to understand that John Vann was this larger-than-life figure. He had been a military officer, became a civilian, and he was hard-charging, charismatic, and when I first heard him speak, I thought he was crazed and wanted nothing to do with him. And I had heard him during my Vietnamese training. When I got to Vietnam, I said, where's Van? They said, he's in Military Region 3. I said, I want to go any place but there. So they sent me to Military Region 4 and SEDEC. Then Van gets appointed as the senior civilian coordinator of all our programs, my ultimate boss in Region 4. And he likes to ride around on the back of motorcycles, will drop in unannounced to your district, and he flies into our province and said, I'm going to have dinner tonight, get your counterpart, show up, we're going to this Vietnamese restaurant. So I'm scurrying around, I get my counterpart, Major Diem, we drive into SEDEC, we go to the restaurant, there's Van. And when I had first arrived in Vietnam, I had been in a restaurant there run by an attractive woman and had been practicing my Vietnamese. And she had asked me if I had heard of John Vann, and I said yes. And she said, I hear he's very tough. She used the word in Vietnamese, sort of like, like a growling dog. And I said, yes, he's like a growling dog. So this is 2 years earlier. So now here's John Vann. He's at the table. I'm there. Sit down. Say hello. Never met him. Introduce myself. And he looks at me across the table and says, I understand you called me a mad dog. I'm there. And I'm going, what? Yes, I understood you told this young woman I know you called me a mad dog. And I remembered it absolutely. And I'm saying to him, I'm sure that's not right. No, I don't have any memory of that. I'm dissembling as fast as I can, and I don't know what's happening. Anyway, we're going on. We're eating dinner and talking, and he's said, and he always wanted to show you that he knew more about your area of responsibility, that he knew more about my district than I did. And he said, I know there are at least 60 television sets in your district owned by people. I said, no, that can't be right. I've driven all around. Can't be. It's got to be only about 30. We're going to bet a meal on this. Oh, okay. So I had to send somebody out, count the TV sets. I was right. He wasn't. That made a big impression. On him. So we're there, we're sitting around, we're talking, And Vann turns to me quietly and he said, "What will it take to keep you in Vietnam? Because I want officers like you who speak the language to stay in Vietnam." So, I have this moment. And I said, "I want to be district senior advisor of Duc Thanh District," which was also in SEDEC, but it was the heaviest military engaged district right next to the U.S. Army airfield at Vinh Long, and it was all about combat operations, helicopter operations, and it was a total military setting. And I thought, he'll never approve that. This is the senior advisor there is an Army major. The team had 100% casualties. And he said, "I'll approve that right now." So I was blown away. This small conversation meant I was staying in Vietnam longer. I knew what my assignment was, and I was being taken from sort of rural development to where I could say, oh, I had been a foot soldier in the Green Revolution with Miracle Rice, that I was now going to the battlefield of combat operations with helicopters from the 7th to the 1st Air Cavalry and leading a military team of 10 military officers, sergeants, privates, as they dealt with, on a day-to-day basis, the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces that were in that district.